Okay, we're going to make this a quick little demo. That's what I'm hoping anyway. And what I want to do is pretend that a client has approached us and said, hey, I like this picture of this guy, but I need to change the color of his shirt. And you're like, okay, well, I can do that. So let's go ahead and change the color of this guy's shirt and maybe even give the client some options of different colors. Let's say you're doing this for a catalog or doing a website or something where they have different color shirts. It's easier to change the color of the shirt in Photoshop than it is to have the model change its shirt every single time. Okay, so if you were to shoot this, I would say put the person in a gray shirt so that way you can add color to it really, really easy. What we're going to do first is we're going to actually isolate the shirt, we're going to convert it to gray, and then we're going to drop our colors on top of it. So let's do that quickly. So here, again, using our quick selection tool as a starting point, we're going to go ahead and select, the pink of the shirt here. Now, obviously the quick selection tool kind of just jumped along and took a little bit too much off, but we're going to subtract from up here and go ahead and subtract his arms out, subtract this background out, get his hands. Now, if you looked at the previous video, we were able to isolate and refine our selections with using Quickmask, which we will do in this one as well. And again, just trying to isolate these areas. Some of it I can clean up a little bit easier once I'm in that mode of Quickmask editing. Add this in. Right. Yeah, I'm going to add that. I'm going to add that. Add that little chunk in there. And if it took too much, like I said, you can use the subtract from. So, get his little thumbs out. Come on. Okay. My screen likes to jump in and out on me. It's a feature. Subtracting that little piece. Okay, some of this stuff, you don't have to sit there and labor over and try to get every little thing with the quick selection tool. Get yourself a good starting point. You zoom in up here. Make the brush a little bit smaller. I'm going to add that in. Hopefully that helps it. It doesn't take too much off. Same with this side. Cool. Nice. Okay, let's get into quick selection. Quickmask. There, boom. So in this, you can see the red area again is the selected area, or non-selected area. The black area is the red area. And the areas that's showing through was our selected area. So again, if we want to not have something as part of the selection, use black paint with our paintbrush here. It's funny, his skin looks very pale in this mode. And again, using black paint, I'm just going to paint over this. Try to do it quickly. Quick. Alright. Pretty good. It's a little rough, but not too bad. Cool. Alright, I think that's probably good. I'm looking at, missed the spot underneath his arm here. Again, get the brush a little bit smaller, zoom in. And if you have to, just take a little bit much. Switch to white paint with the X key and take it back out. So you can kind of go back and forth a little bit. That's fine. You want it just so that it's not noticeable. Oh, a little much here, sorry. The hair on his arms, not too much. Alright. Some black in there. Cool. Looks alright. And we can refine that as we go a little bit more into this. So, we have that pretty well selected. Actually, I did forget this part up here. I want this to be white. And then I'm going to use black paint to hide that neck area. If it's super soft, if it's a soft edge, you can use a softer brush. That probably should do the trick for now. And depending on how big the image is going to be used, if it's going to go to print, you really want to get in there and look at it super tight. If it's not going to print, it's going to a website, you have a little bit of flexibility. But I always err to getting it super precise, even for a website, just in case the client wants to print it, you're covered. So you don't have to go back and do it again. So, Quickmask, we're done. We just exit Quickmask. Again, we click the Q key, or go under the select menu and say exit Quickmask. Now we have our selection. Let's go ahead and save it just to be on the safe side. Select, save selection, and we're going to call it shirt. Now we look at our channels just to confirm, and our shirt is all set. Cool. Now it's saved so we can have peace of mind. I'm going to definitely do a file save as. It's my first time saving it, so I want to save it as a Photoshop document. Alpha channels. And then let's go back to our composite channel here. Yep, not libraries, layers. Get out of there. There it is. Okay, back to my layers here. So the first thing I want to do is convert the shirt to gray. Layer, new adjustment layer. Now you could use the hue saturation and take the saturation completely down, but I'm going to use black and white to convert to black and white. Click OK, and notice it goes to black and white. You can click on auto to see what it does. You can also push and pull these sliders. Because it's a pink shirt, there's a little bit more red in it, so if I go to the right, it's going to lighten it up. If I go to the left, it's going to darken it up a bit. So I think probably that's a good option right about there, because when we add color to it, we want to see the texture, we want to see the detail. If it's too much, if it's too light, like up here, the color isn't going to stick to anything. So it's probably a little bit better here, and we can always go back and edit that mask. As we see, we couldn't tell earlier necessarily, but you can see certain areas are a little bit on the rough side. So again, clicking on the layer mask, black and white paint here. I'm going to use black paint to hide, actually white paint to make it gray, right? So you're going to hide the effect with black paint. Here, because of it's kind of a hairy arm, I'm going to lower the feather, the hardness on here. So I'm going to go ahead and paint a little softer in there to blend it in. Here it's just a little harsh. So again, just kind of softening up these edges as you see them. Cool. Looks good. We'll come back to the hands here in a second. Get the hairy arm. The shirt here. So, again, you kind of want to go in and take a look at it. Get yourself to a good point where it actually totally looks seamless. And here, obviously, we gave him some webbed fingers inadvertently. So I'm going to take the brush and make it a little harder. And I can go in and paint. So again, I want to see it go gray. Switch back. So you just have to remember which you're painting with, black or white. Again, if you need to take some more off, obviously it may look like he has a gray finger there. We don't want that. Soft edge brush here. Again, lower the feather, or I'm sorry, lower the hardness to feather the edge of the brush. And if necessary, you can always go in and lower the flow as well. Remember, the flow is how quickly the paint comes out. So a lot of times I'll go lower the flow so I can really get in a subtle transition. Oops. So that way it blends a little bit more seamlessly. Yeah, so like this part right here definitely looks kind of a little different. And there we go. Cool. Okay, so we've got that. Looks pretty good. I think we're good for right now. Yep. You know, sometimes you just can't control yourself and you have to fix things you see, like this area right here. Maybe not as soft as my brush, a little softer. So I'm just trying to decontaminate this area here a little bit. You know, unfortunately in this situation, there's some pink reflecting off of the shirt. That's why it seems a little pinker on his hands. So this is the regular shirt. This is the one we just converted to gray. And now from here, we'll go ahead and add some color layers to this to kind of swap things out, you know, for our client. And click Save to make sure I keep all my work intact. Now, as we said, we have our saved selection as a t-shirt here, or a shirt. Our alpha channel is the shirt, but our quick mask, our layer mask is also a channel. And so we can load that as a channel as well, or as a selection. So under the select menu, I can say load selection, and I can say black and white mask. Click OK. Now the one we just edited, which is actually a little tighter than the first one, is now our selection. So from here, we can go in, let's click on our layers here. Let's make a new layer. And we'll call it color 1. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and fill it with a color here. Edit, fill. In the previous example, we saw that we had preserve transparency checked. Because this layer is completely transparent to start out with, we don't want this selected, otherwise nothing will happen. So uncheck preserve transparency and then click OK. Beautiful. A nice goldenrod shirt. Deselect. And now from here we can change the blending mode to whatever we want. To color mode, you know, overlay, hard light, so on. So let's go to color mode. Because we made it gray underneath, the color blending mode has something to stick to. If it was white, the color blending mode wouldn't be as effective. So here what we can do is, you know, basically duplicate this layer. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it down here. Double click on the name. Call it color 2. Now let's pick a different color. Now I'm going to turn this first one off so they don't compete. Let's change it to blue. We'll do an edit, fill. Now we want to turn this on, preserve transparency. Click OK. Now it's blue, or kind of a periwinkle. If you want to kind of intensify it, you can change the blending mode to whatever you like. So here, now overlay kind of gives us a little bit more of a blue effect. And remember, you can always change the opacity to dial it back a little bit. We'll do one more. Let's duplicate this one again. Bring it to the top. Turn that off. Turn this one on. And let's name it number 3. And now what I'm going to do is make it a green t-shirt. So again, edit, fill, foreground color, preserving transparency so it only fills the colored area. Now color mode might be a little different for that, so maybe multiply. Ooh, that's cool. So now you have basically a green one, a blue shirt, and a yellow shirt. And so if you, like I said, if your client requested multiple versions with the same actor or model, you are covered. So all we did was go in, we made our selections of the shirt, use Quickmask to refine it the best we could, use that as a basis for our layer mask on the black and white adjustment, and then we reloaded the black and white adjustment layer to use that as the shape of the images right here, or the layers here for the color information. So a little longer than I thought, but very effective in my opinion. So hopefully that was helpful, and stay tuned.